Voiceover is everywhere, and you hear it every day. From radio
Number one for New Country 96.3 Hawkeye in the morning.
to TV
My name is Lady Whistledown. You do not know me, but I know you.
to movies.
My name is Optimus Prime. Autobots, roll out!
To animation
I am vengeance. I am the night. I am Batman.
and so much more. Welcome to episode 3.
Welcome to Who Did That Voice, the show where we take an in-depth look at the world of voiceover, including movies, TV, animation, and more. And now, here's your host, Trenton Larkin.
Hello, everyone. Today on the show, we have Kyle Kurtz, who is an old high school chum and good friend. Kyle, thank you so much for joining us today.
Trenton, thank you, man. It's great to be here, and it's great to catch up with you again. It's been years.
You're absolutely right, Kyle. It has been way too long. It's great to catch up with you. Kyle, the first thing I like to do is get a little feel and understanding of who our guest is on the show. Would you please tell our listeners, who are you, Kyle? Tell us your story.
Well, sure, man. Well, I grew up in I'm from the Kansas City area, so Midwest, you know, all that stuff. Basic family upbringing. Parents split up when I was 10, but I was raised in my mom's side, mostly very performance-based household. So she was a music teacher for 30 years before she retired like a decade ago. And so performance was a huge part of my life. Did church choirs, little kids theater. I was basically a ham growing up. So basically anything I could I could dress up in and find around to turn into a superhero costume. I was many different forms of Superman. If he had accessories on, I was many different forms of Batman. I was, always performing around the house, just being a little idiot and just entertaining my family and friends where I could. So that hasn't changed much, being an idiot. But that carried over into middle school and high school, and that's where I met you, man, in high school, and
Yeah,
did
definitely.
theater together, and our parents were friends, and then when they went to high school, and so it's only fitting that we carry on the tradition of our families.
Well, absolutely, man. It was pretty amazing to be going to high school with you, considering our parents had been in the same place. Your mom was a little, like a year older than my dad, and grade-wise, and I was a grade under you, so it was like repeating history with our family generations and lineage, so it was quite awesome to act with you.
Right? It was great, man. I missed those. Those were great days. Music Man and Guys and Dolls.
Wow, those definitely bring back some good memories from yesteryear. So, Kyle, besides your family being such a theatrically and musically inclined family, were there any other contributing factors to you pursuing an acting and voiceover career?
Really, it's being on stage in front of people. Unlike a lot of people who get scared on a microphone or, they get in front of people. And since I DJ weddings right now, like I see this a lot with the toasts. People are they're mortified, they're petrified to be up there with a microphone in their hand. And then, of course, their speech doesn't go that well because of their fear. But I never encountered that. I loved having a microphone in my hand. If I had a chance to talk to people and entertain them or tell a joke or do something, like I loved that, doing that. I felt it as kind of like my job, and I felt I was meant to do that. So I guess not having that innate fear of performance really makes me comfortable behind a microphone or on stage or wherever I happen to be.
So your lack of fear inspired you to become more involved in acting.
Sure, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I love. Yeah, you kind of have to. I mean, I know that some performers get nervous, and still even pros get nervous, as they should, because it keeps them on their toes. And I still encounter that, whether I'm, in a studio or on stage. You still get that nervousness, and that's good because it keeps you alive. And that's what kind of helps. I live for that adrenaline rush, if you will. Like it makes me want to do more. A primetime player, like I feel like I have to step up and be the best I can be. So that inspires me about every day.
So it's not really like the fear of, you have that innate fear that any actor has that kind of inspires them and motivates them to continue on, but it's not so much fear that it keeps you from doing it at all. So
right, it's that fear control. You control your fear. You don't. It's still there. It's just what you do with it.
You don't let it control you.
Right, exactly. And a lot of pros, they don't let it control them. They control it. They use the adrenaline rush from that to fuel their performance.
So with voiceover for radio, DJing, and that kind of stuff, was that something you had thought about doing when you were younger, since you were doing kind of acting and singing and everything in high school and through schooling and everything? Had you considered doing DJing and radio, or was that something that just kind of came about?
It kind of came about, like, when you're young, when you're a kid, you have these great ideas, but the problem with those great ideas is that they're really broad or vague. So a lot of kids, they might want to be an actor or a movie star or or even like a astronaut or a ninja or all this stuff. They have these broad, big goals and stuff, but because they're kids, we don't understand, how intricate the world is as kids. So as you grow up and you get more life experiences, your passions or your interests start to take on a specific shape. And so I saw, when I got into college, I loved performing with choir and theater and all that business, but I saw a different avenue in radio when I was in college, using my voice to perform live, but it was on the air. It really developed for me from there. Like, being on a microphone started in college. Like, that's when radio all picked up. In college, like, I was a music major, and we had a public radio station on campus. And they hired music majors for the evening shift because we could pronounce the classical name. We didn't completely biff them like all the other kids did. Music majors did the classical shifts at night, and when I did my first shift, my first on-air show, I talked maybe 3 times the whole hour for, 30 seconds, not even 30 seconds, maybe 30 seconds total. But that first hour I did that, I was completely hooked because I knew I was live. When I pushed that button, I was live. I was talking to the people. They could hear me, and that adrenaline rush kicked in, and that got me hooked. Even though I was just doing classical music for 2 or 3 hours a night in college, like, it spoke to me. I was like, man, that was fun. I had a great time doing that. And then that built into daytime shifts and morning news shifts where, like, I was given some real responsibility with covering the community and writing stories and producing the shows, and it all built from there in college. But man, it just started with that little spark, and I had to do more radio. I had to be on the air more. I had to experience all that again.
So working for the radio station, were there times where they needed you to do voiceovers for commercials or call letter segments for the station?
Oh, absolutely. Sure. It's basically, in public radio, it's different because it's called underwriting.
Okay.
It's not so much a commercial sponsor. It just basically says this program is brought to you by such and such. A department on campus or a business in town. Like, it's called underwriting. So it's handled a little differently than, say, like pop or rock radio. But you still need to record that stuff. So yeah, I recorded that stuff. I produced all these, we call them spots for our Bearcat sports network. So all our affiliates who carried the Bearcat football and basketball games, they heard those spots too.
You're mentioning the Bearcats. Now give a shout out. What is your alma mater there?
Yeah, go Bearcats, Northwest Missouri State University. That's where I went to school. And honestly, it's one of those schools where they believe more in practical experience.
Hands-on.
So if you're a teacher, right, hands-on, exactly. So, if you're a teacher, there's an elementary school out on campus for teaching. If you're in radio, they give you a radio to talk on. There's 2 stations in that building for students, and that's very, very rare and very, very valuable because they don't. A lot of schools kind of throw you out there, like, hey, there you go. But Northwest actually gave you a chance to be on the air on a high-power station. And that's just straight up invaluable right there. You can't buy that kind of experience. Well, I mean, you kind of can because I paid for college, but.
Well, that's most excellent that they give you that firsthand experience. That's just amazing. You really don't get that in most schooling situations.
No, you don't. You're sitting with your nose in a book for, 8 hours a day, and you don't get to actually do anything, real experience. So it makes it so much easier, and you up your game much faster when you have that experience. So
I find it most fascinating to hear how your firsthand experience and training really helped you excel. Speaking of training, have you had any professional vocal training that's helped you in your acting, singing, and radio career?
Yeah, man, I did. I was actually a music performance major, so I had voice lessons and piano lessons, and those were very, very good. I had a couple of very, very good professors who helped me out with that. But what I learned, and we might talk about this in a minute, but I got into cheerleading while I was in college, and just using my voice properly was very, very key, especially since I use my voice all the time in radio, in singing, in cheerleading. I had to learn how to use my voice properly without wrecking it. Then those voice lessons really helped me to speak from the correct position, how to not overexert my voice like you're at a sports game or whatever, all that stuff. So that, I had to learn how to be very careful with my voice, and voice lessons were very, very instrumental in that, so to speak.
Well, it's good to know that vocal training is definitely a key factor in helping you train for the voiceover industry so that you do know how to take care of your voice. Whether you're singing, acting, doing voiceovers, whatever it is, it's very crucial.
Or doing podcasts, you know.
Or doing podcasts, absolutely.
Yeah, because your voice is your livelihood.
Very much so. So, Kyle, was voiceover work something that you had planned for, or did it just kind of come about? Because I know you've done some actual commercials for, I believe, Starlight Theatre and some different companies there in Kansas City.
Right. It kind of is based on my connections. Because really, I did all that voiceover work in college and made a lot of good connections from there. Because, you know, radio people, you always stay in touch with each other and your network. I worked in Kansas City at Mix 93.3 for the morning show. You know, it's pop radio. I worked in Lincoln, Nebraska, and I did a night show there. Through I DJ now. I do like wedding and event DJ stuff during the summer. It helps pay the bills, and it's really fun to do a lot of fun events. But I got my voiceover opportunity with Starlight by doing that. It was a guy from you remember Adam Watson from high school?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. He was in he works for Starlight Theatre, and so
okay.
he didn't work for that. I don't think that particular department that I hooked up with for the voiceovers, but I was somebody he knew he could recommend.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. So he helped get me involved with it. He's part of the marketing team, I think. So he called me up and got that set up, and it's just who you know, man. And I can't stress that enough. Like, regardless of, you know, what we talk about for our professions or whatever, it's really who you know and how many connections you can make, and don't be a jerk, basically.
Yeah.
Because you never know who you might need to do something for you, or who might need you to do something for them, and that's how it got set up. So now I'm the voice of Starlight Theatre's commercials, you know, TV and radio, which is super cool.
Oh wow! So you're like their official voice now.
I mean, as long as they'll have me.
Well, that's amazing. I thought you had just done a couple commercials. That's fascinating. I didn't know that.
Oh yeah. Well, I sat in the studio for hours and knocked out all these commercials the entire 2016 season. And they said, well, this is great. We'll see you next year. And I was like, sweet. It's a date.
I'll mark it in my calendar now.
Right, exactly. I will keep it open. Yeah, man. It's connections. It's making those connections and talking to as many people as you can, being friendly, you know, putting pride in your work, because people will see that. And even marketing yourself to a degree on social media. Like, I've seen people market themselves so hard on social media, and it's cool, but they saturate it with their stuff, and it takes on a braggart kind of tone.
Absolutely, yeah.
You know, and it becomes overwhelming. It's like, cool, we get it. You're into voiceovers. I get it. All right, sweet. But if you do a good enough job where other people are bragging for you, that carries so much more weight, because to an extent you have to let people know you're out there. But also, if people are doing the talking for you, then that even expands your circle more, because they're like, oh, well, this guy says this, and, you know, it's not just this guy tooting his own horn, really. It's other people.
Absolutely. That makes sense, yeah.
Yeah. So how big you build your network is so, so crucial, especially in the voiceover industry, when jobs are, oh man, few and far between. You have to, and especially when regular work, I should say, is few and far between. Like, you may have a ton of one-off gigs, but you want something regular. That's what really pays the bills. So if you're a regular person for somebody, then that helps you a lot more. But again, you have to cultivate those relationships and make that happen.
So what would you say to somebody who's trying to look at becoming a voiceover artist or to get into the industry? How do they start networking if they don't feel they have those kind of connections? What would you suggest to them?
First of all, practice. Like, practice your voice. Do different. I mean, it depends what kind of voiceover work you're looking to get. If you're looking to get into cartoons, then you better have like 5 different, completely different voices ready to go to show people, or demos, if you will. If you're looking to get into commercial work, you have to read different lines at different emotions. You know, take an advertisement you see in the paper and read it as if you're on, you know, the radio, and try and discern an emotion from that. You know, just the variables, the variety that you can give a potential employer is huge. You see these guys who do like one voice and they're famous for that. I can guarantee you that they had different demos lined up that don't sound anything like they do now because they had to cast a wide net. They had to have so many voices or so many different readings in the bag, and this one employer just happened to like this particular one, and that's the only one they do now because they became famous for it. It became marketed so well. So I guess I could say my one line to a potential voiceover artist is cast a wide net. That means cast a wide net with who you talk to and cast a wide net with what you can do personally in your profession. So provide different angles for people, and that will get you in the door to a lot of places. Then if something catches on, you can cultivate that particular voice or that particular reading or that particular line or what have you. You can make that your own. But if you don't have a variety of things to show people, then you kind of pigeonholed yourself, and you can't be surprised if you're not meeting a quality range of people in that respect. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, Kyle. So realistically, what you're saying is, number one, cultivate your own expertise by practice, because that's number one. And number two is you were talking about those 5 voices. Those should be probably 5 original voices, correct? Not just 5
Correct.
voices you're mimicking.
Right, exactly. That's actually a very good point. I mean, if you can mimic somebody, like, I'd save that for parties. Like, it's like, oh, well, I can do 5 voices from Family Guy. Okay, cool. Here's the problem. Family Guy is already a big thing, and you're not in the cast. So, like, how much good is that really going to do you? So if you're at a party with your friends, you're pulling out those voices, yeah, it's funny. It might even get you some YouTube notoriety, But to a certain point, these employers will call up and say, okay, you can do like 5 Family Guy voices, great, but can you do 5 original voices? So to your point, yes, 5 original voices are very key because that's what's going to make you the money in the long term. YouTube views don't necessarily always equal money.
Dollars in the bank.
Right, exactly, because I can guarantee you all the people who have original YouTube channels, that's the key word, original. They've made up their own stuff, and now they're making serious bank off of that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So, yeah, original voices are definitely key.
Kyle, I absolutely agree with you on that. As far as voiceover work goes, have you considered pursuing a more focused career towards voiceover since you have kind of had some exposure now with Starlight?
Yes, absolutely. I'm getting my demos from Starlight, and I will plan on sending that out to different studios and to I'll put it on social media, of course, because that spreads like wildfire. You just never know who might need your services. So I will definitely be sending out that demo. And for a huge company like Starlight, a very well-respected, heritage-based company like Starlight, they've been around forever, and they've put on quality shows forever. So to be affiliated with that is definitely a feather in my cap. I'd love to do it for as long as they will have me. As far as voiceover work, like that stuff is so any aspiring voiceover artist has found out already. Like, it's tough. Even if you're in a big city where there's a lot of opportunity, so to speak, it's tough, man. It's so tough. Like the jobs just trickle in, and there'll be points where you think, my God, am I ever going to make any money off of this, or whatever. But you just have to keep plugging away, man. You just have to keep plugging away. And I've actually gotten into PA announcing, so public address announcing, which is at like high school games. I coach high school cheer, and so I'm getting into doing all of that because people who say, well, I'll never be a voiceover, I can't get my voice out there. I was like, well, what else are you doing? That goes back to the variety and the originality part. Are you putting yourself behind any microphone you can find, whether it's at a high school basketball game or you're announcing some kind of shows or anything really. Like, put yourself behind a microphone, and that is what's going to get you some voiceover work, because a lot of the voiceover famous people, they also did other announcing things. They just happen to say, oh, well, I also do voiceovers, and then that kind of took off from there.
Yeah, so it's like if there's a need, find it and fill it with your voice.
Correct, because, if your voice isn't out there, who's going to know you?
Very true.
Yeah, and that can lead from there. I mean, like I said, cast a wide net. You have to put yourself as far and wide as possible from a different range of things, and if something catches on, there you go. But if you don't do it, then you'd be like, well, I got this one talent, and then you're waiting for somebody to bank on that one talent you have, that one particular use for your voice. You just have to get yourself behind the mic. You have to.
That's a good word, Kyle. Well, man, I want to know, what is your favorite cartoon from when you were growing up and why?
Oh, man, that's a good question. I considered myself a connoisseur of cartoons when we were little.
I'm right there with you, brother.
Yeah, dude, I've watched everything. Oh my gosh. My go-to was always Looney Tunes. It was always Looney Tunes. Just because they were everywhere. Looney Tunes were everywhere. Like that and Tom and Jerry were everywhere. I watched those like TBS and TNT and all those. I watched those all the time. When we came home from school, like 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon, I was watching Batman, the animated series.
Oh, yeah. Kevin Conroy, man. Whew.
Yeah, Kevin Conroy. Oh, my God, a legend. He's been Batman. I guarantee he's been doing voiceover work forever, but, 20-some years ago, Batman just caught on.
Yeah. And Lauren Lester as Robin, man. Holy cow.
Oh, yes. And
what a team.
And lest we forget Mark Hamill as the Joker.
Oh, how could you forget? How could you forget that?
Genius voiceover performance. And, of course, we know Mark Hamill as Luke Skywalker from Star Wars, but his voiceover work just exploded, especially when he became the Joker for that series, because that series, as a kid, it's cool because it's Batman, he's fighting bad guys and whatever, but as an adult, you appreciate the darkness and the adult tone of that cartoon and some of the adult-themed storylines. Like, the Joker was an evil son of a gun. He's straight up evil, and Mark Hamill brought that to life as a guy who wanted to watch the world burn.
But he still kept it kid-friendly, it was like,
right.
You could tell how evil he was, but it was still good for Saturday morning cartoons,
Right. I think they just kept the only thing that kept it from being like TV 14 or whatever is there was just no blood or guts or sex or any of that stuff. It just was just darkly themed, so adults could enjoy it too. But Mark Hamill, oh my goodness, like he brought that character to life, and now he is the Joker, and Kevin Conroy is Batman. So now, as a voiceover guy, I truly appreciate what they bring and how you have to keep that voice alive through practice and maintaining your health regimen. And these guys are always doing, that's their money. If that voice goes, or if that somehow they just can't pick up the Batman sense anymore or whatever, then they lose that money. They're out.
Absolutely, yeah.
The pressure is on them now to maintain that character. So I appreciate it now more as an adult and as a voiceover artist. Like what those guys, even if they do, cartoons regularly like it, man, they have to show up to work every day, and that is what they do. That is their job. So much respect to them.
Absolutely, yeah. So your favorite cartoon show was Looney Tunes, but who was your favorite character on the show?
On Looney Tunes?
Yeah.
Oh, man, Bugs.
Bugs.
Yeah, Bugs Bunny had all the answers.
Mel Blanc, man.
Yeah, of course. Mel LeBlanc. He voiced 1,000, probably literally 1,000 characters in his lifetime, and none more famous than Bugs Bunny. He brought that character to life, and Bugs' antics were just so much fun. He was a little sarcastic too, which as an adult I appreciate. He had a little sarcasm to him, which was fun. But as a kid, I have no shame in saying Bugs Bunny was my favorite. He was a great character.
That is super awesome, man. Well, Kyle, what is your favorite Disney movie and why?
Oh man, another good question. You're hitting me with the hard questions today. Asking me to choose favorite children or something.
That's a little bit different.
I know, but just being dramatic, you know me.
No, I hear you.
I would say the one that stands out to me the most is Lion King. I love The Lion King. Everything about the movie was perfect. The voices, the atmosphere of it, how it took on a darker tone later. Like the heroes and Pride Rock were in some real peril. Like even for Disney, they were in some real peril because Scar was taking over, and the Pride Lands were just a mess. And the soundtrack, oh my God, the soundtrack. I bought the soundtrack separately, like not even hesitating, because it was such an excellent soundtrack to it. Tim Rice and Alan Menken just killed it with the soundtrack.
Yeah, it's gorgeous music, that's for sure.
Oh yeah. I appreciate now more of the Disney Pixar movies. I think those are fantastic. My favorite Disney Pixar is WALL-E.
Oh, that's an amazing show, man.
And if you notice, in the first 30 minutes of the movie, there's no voices. Nobody talks, except for like that little Guys and Dolls video that he plays or whatever.
Yeah.
But other than that, for the first 30 minutes of the movie, nobody talks. And they use a robot and his surrounding and interacting with his surroundings to not only, one, set up the story, but advance the story within 30 minutes. So it's probably my favorite Disney Pixar movie.
Well, absolutely. And I loved WALL-E because of the Hello Dolly aspect that they threw into it, which it's like, who knows that movie in today's society unless you're a musical lover like us? And I loved how they threw that in there because people wanted to know what that movie was after they saw it in WALL-E.
Absolutely. And the fact that they're getting all these, they're giving actors more facets to work with.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, Kyle, do you have an inspirational or motivational quote for us today?
Yeah, I do actually, and it's funny because I came upon this one not too long ago. My original quote, and quotes change because your life changes as it should. I've always loved the Dr. Seuss quote: "Be who you are and say what you feel, because those who mind don't matter, and those who matter don't mind."
I like that.
That's been my kind of overall quote, but I found one. I got just one more. Since I coach high schoolers, I inherited this team from a coach who didn't really have the kids' best interest at heart or the team's best interest at heart. So the kids were all like, well, it's been done this way, and I don't know if we can change it, or, what can we do? How? And I needed to empower the kids. I needed to empower them to make changes in their life. And it doesn't just go with cheerleader. This goes for your attitude. This goes for your life situation, whatever it is, this quote can apply. And it's Socrates, who was a Greek philosopher. Way back in ancient Greece, he came up with this. He said, "The secret to change is to focus all of your energy not on fighting the old, but on building the new." So instead of fighting all those old feelings and battling with all the old habits and battling with all the old people and situations and times, start building the new one. You know what you want to do. Find a vision of what you want, and that's the new vision. Then focus all your energy on building around that. And therein lies your success, and to successfully change yourself by just eliminating all of the old things because that's how time and life works. All the old, and I'm sure there's verses in various texts that, back that up, but, all the old shall pass away. All what is old is, it'll be gone. Like, focus on what's new, how you can evolve, how you can change for the better. And Socrates, in his infinite wisdom back in ancient Greece, said, forget the old. You don't need that anymore. If we want to move forward, you can build on the new. I feel like that would go for any life avenue you may encounter, whether yourself or with somebody else or what have you.
Absolutely. Those are a good couple of quotes. I really enjoyed those, Kyle. Thank you so much. Well, are there any up-and-coming projects that you're working on that you can share with us today, Kyle?
For cheer music, there's and for people who've heard cheerleading music, all the upbeat, like techno kind of sounding music with all the voices on it and stuff, there's a new law out for cheer music. It's been around, it's not just being enforced, where you can't just take a pop song and mix it together. You have to create a custom original arrangement for cheer teams.
Goodness gracious, really?
Yeah, for real. The law has always been around. It just never was enforced until somebody ratted somebody out. That whole thing. It's a deep, dark story, but it's basically music producers now have to come up with original content. So now, unless they get sued by music companies for playing their music without permission in a public setting, such as a cheer competition.
Like the ones at Disney that are massive.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, those are national world competitions. Those are the biggest stages. Absolutely. So yes, absolutely. They so basically, there's a ton of work now for producers for just a few people, but they have to keep creating custom stuff. So now I'm getting into doing voiceovers for that, whether I'm rapping or singing or, yelling a line or something like that for producers. That's kind of what I'm getting into now. And this is kind of a hot tip for any upcoming voiceover artists. Find a cheer music producer and hook up with them, because there will be so much custom work. Like, not only do you just get to read stuff, but you can also come up with content as well. So you can find regular work with cheer music producers now, because they have to keep coming up with all this custom arrangement of stuff. Yeah, and that's free advice for the day for people.
Yeah.
But yeah, find a cheer music producer near you and go talk to them about being their voiceover, because they were going to have a ton of people on their roster to do voiceover stuff and to come up with lines and songs and lyrics and stuff, because otherwise they can't do anything that's already out there, or else they get sued by music companies.
Well, that is definitely a whole nother aspect of what this show is about, and that I didn't even know of yet. So that's fascinating. I really appreciate you sharing that with us today, Kyle.
No problem, man.
Thank you so much for being on the show today. Would you just close us out, maybe do a little announcer voice or something for us, and tell everyone what show you're listening to?
Ladies and gentlemen, you are listening to Trenton Larkin on Who Did That Voice podcast. It's going to be the hottest thing on iTunes, coming to an iPod, iPhone, computer, media device near you. Be sure to subscribe to it when it gets out. Who Did That Voice?
Hey everyone, and thanks so much for listening to today's episode of Who Did That Voice? If you enjoyed today's episode, please check us out online on all social media platforms at Who Did That Voice and on YouTube at Who Did That Voice 24. Also, remember to check out our website, whodidthatvoice.org. Again, that's www.whodidthatvoice.org. Thank you to all my listeners out there. I just wanted to say, if you want to partner with Who Did That Voice, just telling your friends and family about us is the best way to share the show with others, and or leaving us a review on Apple Podcast or wherever you get your podcast from. The third and final way is by joining our Patreon at patreon.com/Who Did That Voice.
Thank you for joining us today. We'll see you next time for more discoveries on Who Did That Voice.